August 8th, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on a 2000 tick chart on the NinjaTrader 8 platform. Go down to the descriptions below. You can see where I took my trades as well as where I thought I saw setups, so you don't have to watch the entire video. Everything's timestamped. There was no real piece of economic data that came out today that caused the market to really move. And overall, from the pre-market from yesterday, as you can see, started at the very high, sold off in the pre-market pretty aggressively. There was a bounce, came up, sold off pretty gradually, another consolidation, and then a rally pretty close to where it opened. But it never recovered the pre-market high, which was kind of interesting. So I did see kind of two swings or two legs down. You can see this green one and then this yellow one. And then looked like kind of like one big channel up and a consolidation in the middle. I'll get to this a little bit later, but I was debating whether the channel on this side was actually this green one, and then I later drew in this red one. So it seemed like the green one was in play earlier, and then when it broke out, then I thought this red one fit better. So it was a little bit hard for me to know what was exactly going on, but I did know that it was a bullish trend going up. It's just hard to know which is the correct channel. So I run into that sometimes, and I just kind of switch gears and adjust to the other channel. So I'm going to get into the trades now. I took a total of 3 trades. The first trade was green, and then the 2 trades afterwards were red. After this third trade, which is the red one, so 2 red trades, I decided I just need to stop and not trade anymore because lost twice, won once. I felt I was probably getting a little triggered. The overall trading, it was a little confusing at some parts. It was kind of choppy and messy. So for me, at my experience level, I found some setups. I didn't take some. And then some, I'm not sure if they were really going to work out or not. So I'm going to get into the trades right now. So the pre-market, it makes this one big leg down. There are some second entries in here, but it doesn't really matter to me just because I'm not around to trade this. It makes a new low, and at first I thought this was going to be the pre-market highs and lows. This is pre-market high, pre-market low, and then as you'll see, it doesn't really seem to come into play and act too importantly. But then this purple range here, which is the lows, and what I thought potentially a high was, this looked like it was kind of a large range here, although it didn't really yield too many opportunities to take a trade off of because it just looked like it came down, touched a few times at the bottom, and went up and then broke through. So it didn't really seem to help in terms of trading wise. So it just looked like a very big V or a big U setup or U looking type of trading day. So this new high comes down, it falls into this trading range. I don't see a very good clean second entry to take a second entry long or a second entry short. And at this time of day, I'm thinking probably came down, is struggling, so I wasn't too confident taking a long anywhere here or looking for a short because it was hard to tell for sure what was going to happen. It did come down, test the lows, bounce, and then continue downwards. I don't see any clean setup. These are very strong, deliberate moves down, almost like 3 legs. Bounces off the bottom. The first setup that I saw is actually the first trade that I also took. Okay, so it comes up and it looks like it's hitting a high, makes a first entry long, second entry long, and what I thought I saw was, okay, there's a new high, first entry long up here, pulls back, makes a second entry long, and then it fails right here. So this is what it looks like in real time. I saw, okay, first entry long, second entry long, and also it is a lower high. So it's first entry long, second entry long. It fails on this candle. I interpret it as potentially a lower high, and the EMA is holding prices down. So I thought there was enough room. It looked like it bounced, made one push up, came back. I counted this as potentially like another push up, and then it was probably going to come back down a second time. So it's one push up, pulls back, second push up, and I thought it was maybe one leg down, pull up, and then a second leg down. So that kind of gave me a thought that I was going to have enough room to scalp out. And I was kind of near the lows though, and as you can see, I enter here, and I get out here, which is 1 point. So it was a green trade for the day. So I thought, okay, that's cool. I certainly didn't want to try to push it all the way down to here because I wasn't sure if this is an actual support or not. When prices continue chopping, it reverses, and I'm watching this carefully because at this point I do have this. This was actually drawn a little bit steeper. It actually was. I played with this all day throughout the day, and I actually had this. So I had an overshoot here. So it is kind of trading up but I'm thinking there might potentially be a trading range here. It's weak right now, so I only had the support down here and potential resistance up here. Comes up, makes a first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long, but it's a terrible signal bar. I don't want to go long. I also don't want to count it as a failure yet because it's just not enough price action. Here, technically, you have a failure, so it's first entry long here, second entry long, failure. Fails right, pretty much right where all the support is. To go short is, I felt pretty dicey. Then, of course, it moves down and works, proves me wrong, but that's okay. Falls into this channel, goes down, and I'm just watching. It creates a new low here. This purple line doesn't exist yet. It comes up, and I see a second entry short that's hidden. Now, why do I say that? Because there's a new low here. It pulls up. Technically, it makes a second entry short. First entry short here, one. Pulls up, comes back down, and makes a second entry short here. So the way I count it is pulls up, very clean, first entry short. No one can disagree with that. Pulls up, breaks above this guy, and comes right back down. So even though it didn't break below this guy, I saw it as first entry short, pulls up, second entry short. It was hidden. It's a pretty decent signal bar. I thought it was a possible trade, but in real time, I didn't see it that quickly, jump on it, because I really wanted this to kind of show a little bit more break below, but it made a double bottom, so I wasn't too sure. And then the next candle flushed down. So I thought this is, in hindsight, a decent trade to take. And from here down to here, there's enough room for a quick scalp. Prices continue moving down. I saw a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. I do see this bounce off of this potential support, this purple line, which wasn't really firmed up yet. I just suspected there's some kind of support here. It's a very nice signal bar, but it created a double bottom. And I felt like I was potentially, maybe picking the bottom. So I wanted to wait for a higher low. And there's nothing to say this could break down again. So I waited, and the higher low shows up. The problem with this higher low is it's not a good signal bar. It is below the EMA. If this one had closed higher up above the EMA, then I probably would have been more confident taking the trade. The concern also is if it goes up too high, then taking one tick above, you don't know if you're going to get stopped out because there might be a potential resistance right here or a resistance up here. So I had to leave that trade alone. Prices move up. It hits this top and it comes back down. So now I'm pretty sure I redraw my channel again, and I connect the highs here, one touch, two touch. I had at one time, these guys touching as well, but I also had this guy touching. So I go, okay, it's probably in a channel. The bottom doesn't fit quite well, super clean, but it's good enough for the time being. Prices continue chopping. And this is actually where I take my second trade. So what I saw here is I saw a new high, first entry long, pulls back, second entry long. Now this signal bar is pretty bad, not a very good confident signal bar. EMA is rejecting because it tried to push up once, twice, three times, technically a fourth time, and this is the fifth time it tried to push up. So I'm thinking of going short. So I saw this as a failed second entry long, and I thought, okay, this is moving down. There's also this uptrend. It's the first break, and I thought the first break it made one attempt up, and this is the second attempt up. And when it flashed down and broke below this guy, that's where I decided to take my trade. And as you can see, I took it on the next candle, which is right here, which is one tick below this guy. And I was feeling pretty good because prices look like they're respecting the EMA. The EMA is keeping prices down. I didn't consider that the EMA is actually flattening out. And this is actually making higher lows every time. So in hindsight, I think I should have skipped this, but I didn't, or at least wait for a higher low confirmation. Technically, you have a first entry long, second entry long failure. If you had a higher or a lower high, then it would have been a more confident taking trade. Of course, I'm wrong, and it flashes up and stops me out here. So this is my second trade of the day, and I got red. So unfortunately, I should have stepped back, thought about it a little bit more closely. It was getting congested, but I took the trade and I lost. Prices continue moving up, breaks out. I saw this as a failed breakout. It's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, second entry short, including a failed breakout. But I wasn't too confident if this was a trading range yet, so I just had to let it go. Prices continue moving, chopping. This could have been considered a higher, lower high, first entry short, second entry short, lower high, but I felt it was a little bit too far away from the breakout. I do see this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long, and technically in the second entry long, it failed when it broke below here. But if you want a really complete clean fail, this one's about to set it up. I also saw this new low here, first entry short, potentially setting up for a second entry short. This one is a second entry short. So was an interesting setup. I thought that was a possible trade, but I think I waited too long. And I noticed this 1, 2, 3 confirmations. So it was respecting this channel coming down. So if I were to replay this in real time and I could recognize this fast enough, after I saw this breakthrough, I probably would have put my entry one tick below this candle. And as you can see, I wouldn't have gotten filled. I would have had to been more aggressive and put it one tick below this candle, or even walk it back a little bit. The reason I didn't want to do that would be because it looked like there's maybe some kind of potential resistance or support for the prices that prevent me from shorting or getting a successful short. So I had to let this one go. Maybe with more time, I would probably recognize it faster and execute faster. The prices continue moving down. It comes back down. It looks like it's respecting this purple line. You know, it did break a little bit below, but I noticed there is some kind of support right here. Continues chopping, and for sure, it looks like it's reacting to it, and it's coming back up now. Prices continue moving up. I don't see anything I like. Technically, you have a new high here, first entry long, but it made a double top, so you reset the count. There's a first entry long here. Unfortunately, there's no way to enter. I do see a new high here, first entry long, pulls back, and I'm thinking potentially a second entry long. I do draw this channel going up, and here, this is second entry long confirmed, but this signal bar is fantastic, but the follow through trigger bar leaves me a little sketchy. So if I were more aggressive and I actually just decided to drop a trade or entry right here, it would have gotten filled, and it would have potentially stopped me out. And then it looks like it would have worked, but I felt this setup was a little more aggressive, so I kind of left it alone. There is enough room if you did take it here to the top of the trading range. If you waited for this one to flash through and then close and you waited for this guy, I think it would have been waiting too long. The trade would have probably moved without you, and it's just the trade would have been a little old and stale at that point to try to quickly chase that. You'd have to wait, in my opinion, for a higher low. But even if the higher low is running up into this potential large trading range, this blue range here, the prices continue flashing down. Tops within this trading range, it gets very congested, very confusing. I see prices moving up. So I see a first entry short, pulls up, second entry short. This is actually where I take my third and final trade. I saw this, I was believing that I was in a trading range, which is this blue one right here. And I saw a second entry short, and I thought there's enough room to get down to the EMA. This is the first break of this, so I should have taken that into consideration. This is the first break of this orange channel going up. I saw it as a fail breakout, and I was thinking this fail breakout, it might make its way all the way back down, but I failed to consider that it came already from an overshoot, came up, and notice it never came back to touch this and test this again. So it looks like bulls are stepping in. I should have taken that into consideration and potentially just skip this trade or look for a higher low, excuse me, a lower high. I didn't, so I enter right here, and then I got stopped out right here. So this is my third trade. I was red, and I just said, I'm not reading the market correctly. I need to step back and just kind of wait. And just unless a really, really good setup shows up, I have to just pretty much call it a day because I don't want to do more damage to my account. Prices continue moving up, chops around, it goes up. I draw this yellow trading range going up. It creates a first entry long, technically is a second entry long here. If you took the second entry long as a terrible signal bar because technically it's formed on this candle here, but I wouldn't have trusted it because this is what you'd see in real time. Then this comes up, and this isn't a very convincing move back up, even though it looks like it might be bouncing off the top of this blue trading range here. But I didn't see it like that. I just said, this is just avoid it. You don't know what's going on. Prices continue moving up. And I saw this as first entry long, second entry long here. Technically, if you count it as one big move down, and then first entry long, and then potential second entry long and then failure. But it was a little bit unclear. So I just said, you know what? You have to wait and just kind of ride this through to see if more price action. And since I wasn't really taking any more trades for the rest of the day, it didn't feel that bad to just kind of wait this through. So then prices continue moving, flashes up. I draw this other trend line, short trend channel going up. It's kind of hard to see, it's getting a little messy. I saw a new high here, first entry long, pulls back. I see a potential second entry long. This is actually, I think, a decent setup because it's a good signal bar. The EMA is apparently holding, which is this blue line here. It did break down below, but it came back, tested it, created a double bottom, closed very nicely at this very strong bullish bar. And so it did break out of the short and trend channel, made one push up, and I'm thinking it might make another push up to test this high. I didn't take the trade though, but it looks like it would have worked. Prices continue to move up. I draw this green channel now because I saw one touch, two touch, three touch. or one touch, two touch, three touch here. And it also kind of fit nicely at the top. Oh, there's a small little overshoot. I saw a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. The second entry long isn't that great though because it's bad signal bar. It is confirming this green channel, but that's just not good enough as a trade just because it confirms it. It is a little bit dicey, so I just decided to leave it alone because if it's also below the EMA, if the EMA was actually down here and create another key entry point to bounce off of, then I think it would have felt more confident taking that trade. Fortunately, it didn't happen for us, so I just kind of wait. I do see a hidden second entry short. It's kind of subtle. I'm glad I kind of noticed it, but I didn't act on it because, as I said, I already had two losing trades in a row. I saw this a new low, first entry short. If you notice, it went up, it broke above this green bullish candle and came right back down. So it's actually first entry short, pulls up, creates a second entry short all in this red candle, and it flashes down. I wasn't ready to take this trade. I saw it, but I also wasn't sure of it because it looked like it might be coming into the bottom of this green channel. And then I noticed it was a support previously. So it breaks through, comes back up. I'm just sitting, leaving it alone. It falls into this trading range. I see another setup, new high here, first entry long, second entry long. This is a good signal bar. Unfortunately, closed below the EMA and it's confirmed right here, but then this is a very doji-ish looking candle. So for sure I had to leave that alone because it just doesn't look, well, doesn't look like anything worth taking. I do get a confirmation higher low. This higher low is fantastic, except for the fact that it's running right into the top of this resistance. So it looks like there's not enough room to scalp out, so I had to leave it alone. The prices continue moving up. At this point, I was questioning whether this green channel was valid because I had an overshoot, 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 and I wasn't too sure. So I was thinking, I drew this red channel. I was thinking maybe it's a spike and a channel because it touched once, had this overshoot, touched twice, three times, and it seemed to fit pretty nicely at the top. So I was working with this overlapping channel, but I wasn't sure. So I just had to leave it alone. Prices continue moving up. It's breaking through the top of this purple line. This purple line is where I thought it would have been a bigger trading range here and the lower part of the trading range. But since it's so far removed, I didn't really use it as a key entry point to look for a setup. I just kind of left it alone. Prices move up. It looks like there's a small overshoot here. You got first entry long, pulls back. I'm thinking a second entry long setting up. There's double top here. EMA seems to be holding. It would have worked, but it just wasn't clean enough. I wasn't too keen on this double top here just because this is a bullish bar. This is a neutral but doji-ish bar. If this had closed a little bit more bullish, like a little bit of meat, the body up here, I think it would have been more confident that this would have been a trade that would have worked out. And of course, then you get a higher low, but this higher low is very close to the recent top. So it's very risky to take this trade. It looks like you need a lot of momentum to push through and continue up. Plus I'm running into the potential of this red channel being an actual resistance. So I have to leave it alone. The prices continue chopping. I'm just sitting and watching and waiting. It gets very congested. It's just too packed right here to try to jump in on a trade. Comes back down. I see a second entry long that's hidden. So I see a new high here, creates a first entry long right here, goes up. This one flashes down below this guy and then moves back up. So all within this candle is the second entry long. So this first entry long pulls back, second entry long. This is pretty nice, except it's also near the top again. So it's a good signal bar, but I didn't feel safe enough to take a trade. Of course, the market likes to prove me wrong a lot, and it moves up, continues. It's respecting the top of this red channel, comes back, kind of chops, and this is getting right into the close. So it was a very interesting day. And of course, this was my original green channel that I was debating whether it was like this, but it just had so many overshoots and didn't look clean that I actually just pulled it back and then put this red channel in. So it was kind of an interesting day. Unfortunately, I ended up red for the day. It was kind of some weird subtle things. So I thought I saw, hidden second entry longs and hidden second entry shorts, like one right here. So it was kind of an interesting day for sure. It's a learning experience, and it wasn't super easy or super obvious for me today. There were some setups that I thought were obvious, but I just didn't trust them for one reason or another. So hopefully that was helpful.